Okay, hello everyone, and you are viewing the video lecture on the topic of the Kartilya ng Katipunan in the course readings in Philippine history. So let's get started. So to give a short background, so Bonifacio and some other radical members of the La Liga Filipina believed that the struggle for social change to peaceful reforms resulted in failure. So again, it's important to remember na there are a lot of problems in the society wherein the natives, the Filipinos, are the ones who are on the short end of those problems. The Filipinos are the ones who are being mistreated, who are being oppressed, abused. Okay. So, ayan. So, the Filipinos decided to, well, of course, they wanted to have changes in the society. Okay. So, Rizal and the others, Del Pilar, and Lopez Haina, so tried to push for these changes by means of peaceful reforms. However, as what was said a while ago, so they basically they did not achieve anything. It was good effort, but they failed to attain those changes. Right. So that's why Bonifacio and the others so said na there has we need to do something different. Okay, that's why the group decided to achieve this social change by means of gaining independence from Spain through an armed revolution. Okay, so they believed or they realized that if they continued to be under Spain, and if they continued to be a colony of Spain, then these social changes will not come. These social changes will not happen, right? So, so they said that we're the ones who are going to uh, to make these changes ourselves. But to do that, we need first to gain independence from Spain, and we can gain independence from Spain by rising up in arms through an armed revolution. Okay? So to achieve this, they organized the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. We know them commonly as KKK or the Katipunan. All right. So that's the event, or that's the background of the event that we're situating our topic in. Okay? So saan papasok ang Kartilya, or where does the Kartilya enter? Now. Okay, it enters now. Okay. So the Kartilya ng Katipunan is a small pamphlet. So it's a short booklet, probably basically the size of your palm. Okay, something that you can carry easily. Okay, anywhere you go. Okay, so uh, so this pamphlet contains the teachings and principles that serve as guide to the members of the Katipunan. Okay, so these are teachings, these are morals, these are principles. So when we say principles, these are basically truths. Okay, that in any situation or in any time, in any age, basically, uh, they will still hold true, no matter the situation, no matter the circumstance. Okay, and these truths are guides. Okay, these are guides that determine how a person will live his life. Okay, just like for example, when somebody asks you, anong prinsipyo mo sa buhay? What is your life principle? But what is your life motto? Okay, what unwritten rule basically do you always consider in living out your life, in making your decisions in life before you take action? Diba? What is the guide that you always consider? Okay, so those are your principles. Okay, so it's written for the members, basically not just the rules of the organization. Okay? Because they are principles, they are deeper than rules. Okay? So they are there to serve as a guide to the Katipuneros, not just in observance of decorum during group activities or group meetings, okay? But it's there to serve as a guide for them to become better citizens. Okay? So it goes beyond their behavior as Katipunan members. Okay? It's also there to serve as a guide, basically to become a better human being in general. Okay? To become a better Filipino in general, you know, even outside of being a Katipunan member. Okay? So the author realized that independence without change from the members, from the citizens, diba? Uh, will not result in much change, will not result uh, in essential change in the society. Okay? What we will have is only a change in form. Diba? There's only going to be a change in the rulers. Diba? So mapapalitan lang yung mga Spaniards na well, if they succeed, Spaniards will be replaced by Filipino officials. Okay? But change in society, change the essential change or meaning or the change in how the people are experiencing their lives, okay, will not change as much if there is no change within each citizen or each member of the society. Okay? So, napalitan lang yung oppressor. You just changed a previous oppressor with a new oppressor. Di ba? Because, again, there's no internal change. Uh, there's no change from bad behavior to good behavior in the most simplest sense. Right? So that's why the Kartilya was circulated to the members of the Katipunan. Okay? So that when they attain their goal of independence, they will now become better citizens as who they were before independence. Okay? So that there will be essential societal change. All right. So who wrote the Cartilla? So it's attributed to Emilio Jacinto. Okay. The brains of the Katipunan, as how he was titled back in our elementary days. Okay, so who was he? So he lived a life of poverty. So basically, they were not really principal. Yeah, they were not really members of the elite. Okay, but still he was able to study law in UST. Okay, so imagine how high his level of intellect is in order to be able to study law. Okay. However, he was unable to complete his studies because he joined the Katipunan. Okay. So, what does this reveal to us? Okay. So, well, obviously, Jacinto was there at the time. So, he was aware of what was happening in the society. He was aware of the oppression. He was aware of the abuse, of the conditions of the Filipinos, especially from the perspective of a person who lived in poverty. Okay, it's a different perspective from Rizal and the others because Rizal and the other Ilustrados were basically people who owned land. Uh, they were members of the Principalia, or they were people who what do you call this, who were high up in society, mga elite kumbaga. Okay, but it's a different perspective when you live at basically at the lower portion of society. Okay, you can see basically oppression. Oppression comes from the system. Okay, the problem kasi with some of the elite is that they will only see oppression if oppression was done unto them. Okay, but if they do not see it, di ba, if they were not uh, recipients of oppression themselves, di ba, will they ever see it? Will they ever experience it? Will they ever fight against it? I'm not saying all of them are like that, pero that's basically one of the main differences between the perspectives of people from different coming from different levels of society. Okay, so Jacinto, having lived in poverty, so the oppression was already there. Okay, the abuse, the hardship in life was already there. Diba? I'm sure nobody wants to be born uh, in poverty. Diba? I'm sure everybody would want to have, if at the beginning of their life, syempre, diba, they would want to have a life that is uh, basically that's full of whatever you need. It's already complete with whatever you need, diba? So fast forward tayo today, diba, we can still see, or we there are still people who are not poverty, who are not poor by choice, who are not poor by their doing. So, ibig sabihin, there's still a problem in the system. Anyway, going back. Okay. Uh, so despite his family background, yeah. So yeah, so he was able to study. He was able to enlighten his mind, such that he realized na uh, if there was going to be independence, then there has to be change in the people. Okay? Kasi that's the difference when intellectuals are fighting for freedom compared to uh, people who are merely joining the bandwagon in order to fight for freedom, or and also people who are only fighting because they want revenge. Okay, that's why in struggles for freedom, people have to know what they are fighting for, and how and what is the proper way in attaining that freedom. Okay, because uh, you don't just merely remove the person in government, or remove the person in power, and then wala na, you go back to your old way. So hindi, there has to be change. Okay, throughout, from top to bottom, there has to be change. That's why Jacinto again propagated the Kartilya ng Katipunan. Okay? So let's have a look at the some of the principles. Okay? And again, let's try to see if they are applicable basically even in our own circumstance right now. So just try to see uh, if if you can relate, or if somehow you can apply them in your own lives. Okay? For example, number one, life which is not consecrated to a lofty and sacred cause is like a tree without a shadow, if not a poisonous weed. Okay, so if your life is not dedicated to a worthy cause, okay, basically your existence is basically is like without purpose. Kumbaga, you're here in this society, but diba, you're not contributing. Worse, much worse, diba? Yun nga, sabi nga niya, you are poisonous weed. Diba? You're not contributing, but at the same time, you're also adding to the problems of the society. Okay? Hindi ka na nga nakatulong, nakapahamak ka pa. Alright? And usually, these are people who prioritize themselves over others. Okay? That's why that's why in our day-to-day struggles, we need to find a cause, a worthy cause, okay, of why we are doing things. Diba? For example, di ba, yung the commercial of Nescafe, para kanino ka bumabangon? Okay? Just try to ask yourself that if you want to determine what your cause is. Diba? Para kanino ka bumabangon? Okay? Can be for your family, can be kung if you're nationalist or if you're yeah, if you're patriot, 'di ba? For your country, yeah, for your community. Okay? But again, it just has to be for others. You know? Okay? For your family, for your loved ones. That in itself is already a worthy cause. Okay. Ito number two, it's somehow ano a good deed that springs from a desire for personal profit and not a desire to do good is not kindness. Okay? So do not call yourself a kind person if you're doing something and expecting for something in return. Hindi. So that's not kindness. Okay? You must you must do good for the sake of doing good. Okay? Tutulungan mo siya kasi well, you're a good person. Diba? Kahit na wala siyang ibigay sa'yo in return. Okay? That's okay for you. So, yun. So, that's when you can call it kindness. Pero, yung tutulong ka and then you're waiting na magbibigay siya ng something sa'yo. So, no. So, that's not kindness. Okay? For example, magtatrabaho ka tapos okay, so is working then not an act of kindness? Okay? Kasi 'di ba nagtrabaho ka from 8 to 5 for 15 days and then siyempre you're expecting your salary to be given to you. Okay? Of course, it's a different scenario. It's a different okay. And besides, the sahod is not for personal profit, di ba? It's for your necessities. Okay, it's there for you to help others. Okay, kahit sabihin mong mag-Starbucks ka, still you're helping the employees of Starbucks. Okay? Uh, wag ka lang yung garapal na hihingi ka ng sahod na gusto mo over the top ang sahod mo. So that's, of course, that's also a different story. Okay? True greatness consists in being charitable, in loving one's fellow men, and in adjusting every movement, deed, and word to reason. Okay? So take note of what he considers to be great. Okay? Being charitable. Ayan, being generous. Okay? Being giving to others. Okay? So yeah, in line with that. Okay? In line with that. So yan, loving one's fellow man and woman. Okay? And of course, you need to adhere to reason. Okay? So meaning your actions, your decisions, it has to be thought of. It has to be well thought of. Okay? Hindi yung you're thinking about sabihin mo you're going to make a decision kaya lang the decision will benefit you yourself. Okay? Well, okay, pinag-isipan mo, but it does not fulfill the first condition. Diba? It's not an action that resulted to being charitable, to being kind, to being generous. Okay? At the same time, diba, for example, you see a beggar, tapos bibigyan mo ng 10,000 pesos. Okay? Well, you're being charitable, kaya lang, diba? Were you reasonable? Okay? Kasi 10,000 pesos, diba? how is he going to spend it, di ba? One time, big time lang yan. Okay? For all men are equal, be the color of their skin, black or white. One may be superior to another in knowledge, wealth, and beauty, but cannot be superior in being. Okay? So basically, in short, what this says is equality, which is true. Yan. Diba? We are all equal, basically. Okay? Kaya maputi ka or kayo manggi or medyo dark. Okay? Tall or short. Well, we're equal in being. Okay? In short, we are equal in the eyes of the law. We should be equal in the eyes of other people. Diba? Meaning, your value as a person is equal to that of the other person, despite your difference despite your obvious differences. For example, maliit ka, matangkad siya. Okay? Well, of course, that's a physical difference. Wala tayong magagawa dyan. Okay? But your value is, of course, not different from that of his. Just because you are taller or than him, or just because you are more beautiful, okay, than him or her. Okay? So, you may be superior in those aspects, pero your value as a human person, your dignity as a human person, diba, is just the same as that of the others. Okay? Why? Kasi in the end, di ba? Pare-pareho lang naman pupuntahan natin, di ba? Kaya maganda ka, pangit, matangkad, maliit, sexy, mataba, okay? In the end, we're all just going to go in one place, di ba? Okay? So, yun. Basically, your value is the same as human persons. Siyempre, depende na lang nun within the personality of the person. Okay? That's why it's important not to look into the physical or into the external aspects of a person. Okay? But still, kahit masamang tao yan, he's still a human person. Okay? And personalities change, behaviors change. Okay? So kung masama siya ngayon, does not necessarily mean that he's a bad person forever. Same goes na if you're a good person today, doesn't necessarily mean that you will always be a good person throughout your lifetime. It's a constant struggle. But yun, we should always believe in the capacity of the person for goodness. Okay? So for the others, it's just like that. He who is noble prefers honor to personal gains. Okay? A man with a sense of shame, his word is inviolate. So if you have a sense of shame, diba, then you are going to keep your word, promises. Okay, so promises are not made to be broken. Okay? Do not fritter time. Lost riches may be recovered, but time lost will never come again. So this is their version of you only live once. Okay, so don't waste your time. Okay, so whenever an opportunity presents itself, grab it. Number 8 is very straightforward. Defend the oppressed, fight the oppressor. Okay, number 9. Ito, a lot of people are guilty of this. An intelligent man is he who is cautious in speech and knows how to keep the secrets that must be guarded. Okay? So if you are not mindful of your speech, of what you're saying to others in social media, in in Twitter or in IG, okay? You can determine the intelligence of a person based on what he is saying. Okay? So be cautious. Okay? And keep the secrets that must be guarded. Kapag hindi kailangan sabihin, why do you need to say, you don't have to say it. Okay? Hindi lahat ng nalalaman mo are meant to be posted or are meant to be shared. Okay? So it's better to have a more private and secure life. Okay? Thorny path of life, man is the guide of his wife and children. If he who guides moves toward evil, they who are guided likewise move toward evil. Although ito, sometimes it's no longer applicable kasi the man is sometimes not the guide. Sometimes it's the wife. Okay? But regardless, uh, take consideration more in the second and third lines. If he who guides moves toward evil, meaning if the guide becomes a bad person, okay, then those who are guided, okay, the children, the other spouse, okay, will be moving towards evil then. All right. So for those of you who will become family member or who will have their own families one day, so make sure na you yourself are a good person. Okay? Kasi pag kayo naging masamang tao, then those who you are affecting will become the same as you. Okay? Ito for the boys, for the guys, for the men. Sorry, for the men. Okay? This is what separates a man from a boy. Think not of woman as a thing merely to while away time. Okay? Ang babae hindi parausan. Okay? But as a helper and partner in the hardships of life. So you again, man, woman, you are equal. You are partners. Okay? Magtutulungan kayo in the hardships of life. Okay? Respect her in her weakness. Remember the mother who brought you into this world and who cared for you in your childhood. Okay, so although we are equal again in being, there are still some differences biologically kasi women are the ones who carry the babies in the womb. Okay, so kahit gaano tayo ka-equal in being, that's one of the main differences between a man and a woman. Okay, that's why we have to respect them. Remember, always we have to respect them. Men, okay, men, hindi na kayo boys, men. Okay? What you do not want done to your wife, daughter, and sister, do not do to the wife, daughter, and sister of another. Okay? 13. Nobility of a man does not consist in being a king, nor in the highness of nose, in the whiteness of skin, nor in being the priest representing God, nor in the exalted position on this earth. Okay? So hindi porke mayaman ka, you are a noble person. Hindi porke you have white complexion, fair complexion or superior beauty based on present beauty standards. Okay? So that does not make you a noble person. Okay? So pure and true nobility is possessed of an upright character. So again, we always look within. It's internal. The worth of a person is inside, not on the external features. Okay? One who is true to his word, who has dignity and honor, who does not oppress and does not help those who oppress, knows how to look after and love the land of his birth. Okay? So yeah, so that's what true nobility means. Again, it's not on how much you receive, but in how much you give, how much effort you exert to help others. That's the measure of the nobility. That's the measure of your being as a human person. When these doctrines spread and the sun of beloved liberty shines with brilliant effulgence in these unhappy isles and sheds its soft rays upon the united people and brothers in everlasting happiness, the lives, labors, and sufferings of those who are gone shall be more than recompensed. Okay. Number 14 talks more about um, the sacrifices of the people who have gone before us, yung mga nauna sa atin. Okay? So if the teachings If the teachings are lived up to, okay, if we attain the freedom na matagal na nating pinaglalaban, if we make the Philippine society a society worth living in, okay, then all the sacrifices of our ancestors, of our heroes, okay, will be more than paid for. Okay? Kasi again, that's the goal of, basically, that's the goal of everyone here in this earth. Okay? It's to make living in this earth pretty much a pleasant experience. Okay? And when we achieve that, it's only then when the sacrifices of those who have gone ahead of us uh, will be repaid. Right? So number 14 talks more about your respect to our ancestors. Okay, yung iba kasi sometimes yun nga, wala na sila, so this is our life now. Why do we need to consider them? But again, for those of us who are historically conscious, remember the goal of our course. Those of us who are historically conscious, okay, who consider the struggle of the nation as part of your personal struggle, then yeah, we just need to make sure that our society, diba, does not have to be a developed society, but as long as it's a society where everyone can live in happiness, diba, then their sacrifices would have been worth it. Okay. All right. So which of those principles have related to you, or do you think are applicable in your lives today? Okay, di ba? So again, these are principles, these are truths, these are guides that will hold true basically at any time, okay, at any circumstance. And again, Jacinto realized that these are necessary in order for the people to make better their behaviors. Okay, so they need guides in order for them to become better persons and better human beings. If we want to experience true independence in our society. All right. So with that, thank you for listening. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me. If you have clarifications, again, just uh, I'm very much willing to answer, and I hope that we can clarify them. So thank you again. Stay safe and stay happy.